Welcome to the Biohacking Superhuman Performance Podcast. My name is Natalie Nidham. I'm a nutritionist, a human potential and epigenetic coach, and I created this podcast to bring you the latest ways to take control of your health and longevity. We cover it all, from new technology to ancestral health practices, personalized interventions, and a very special interest of mine, peptides. Enjoy the show. In this episode, I interview Julie Westervelt, CEO and founder of Sleep Crown. If you haven't heard of the Sleep Crown, then you're in for a real treat. I would say that this is one of the two items that has made the biggest difference in my sleep this year. It's a pillow, but it's not just any pillow. And it's not a pillow that you sleep on. I'm going to let Julie explain it to you herself, but give yourself a treat, sit back, maybe curl up with a cup of tea, and check out this episode. I think you'll really like it. And at the end, I give you a discount code, which is longevity10, which will give you 10% off your purchase. If you enjoy this episode, as always, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, because that's how the show gets ranked, that's how we get seen, and that's how we get heard. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me at natnidham.com. That's my website. If you want to work with me, if you have any comments or questions about the show. And of course, you can always find me on Facebook in the Biohacking Superhuman Performance group, which is where I am pretty much every day interacting with hundreds and now thousands of biohackers just like you. People who are in all stages of their journey, either at the very beginning, in the middle, at the end, or who don't even really know that they're biohackers yet. But I promise you that no matter where you are in your journey, you are a biohacker. So enjoy the episode. Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Biohacking Superhuman Performance Podcast. I'm Natalie Nidham, and today I have the great pleasure of welcoming Julie Westervelt. I almost forgot your last name, Julie. I'm sorry. I just know you as Julie.
That's right.
And Julie is the founder and I'm sure CEO, chief bottle washer, the whole 9 yards of this amazing company called Sleep Crown. And I met Julie for the first time at a Bulletproof conference. I think it was still called the Bulletproof Conference the first time we met. Of course, now it's no longer called that. I think it's the Upgrade Labs something conference. Back in the day when we used to go to conferences, which hopefully will come back. But I remember meeting Julie and going by, and when we go to these conferences, frankly, half the reason why we're there is to go through the exhibitor hall, because just to find out what the new cool things are. And you come to this booth and you're in this crazy place and there's this kind of sense of calm at your booth. And I remember the first time, walking over and going, well, what is this Sleep Crown thing? Thinking I was going to be putting electrodes on my head or something. And literally nothing could be further from the truth. And it was so refreshing. And I remember you had a bed out, I think, and lying on this bed, putting the Sleep Crown over my head and instantly feeling my stress levels drop. I'm going, holy moly, like if something like this in an environment like this can possibly have this effect, can you just imagine what it would do for your sleep? So I've been kind of obsessed with the Sleep Crown ever since. So welcome, Julie. Sorry, that was a super long introduction. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me today.
Listen, thank you so much for having me. I love your energy. And I remember we've actually, we met at the Bulletproof conference in 2017, and then we got to see each other again. And I got to tuck you in again in Houston at the Paleo FX conference. And it is such a sweet connection that I just feel so connected to everybody that I have actually tucked in and gotten to swaddle at a conference. And you're right. It's so fun to watch people be so stimulated in that environment, and there's so much input coming in, and the lights and the all the presentations, and then they come to me and it's like I just rock you to a moment of rest, and people are like, what is this thing? What did you put in this? What is the Sleep Crown? What did you do? And it's just, it's just a pillow, kind of.
It's so not just a pillow, because, when you first see the Sleep Crown, I want to get to your story, but I want to say that when you first see the Sleep Crown and you're like, oh yeah, you're going to put something over your face. My first instinct was like, ew, I don't want to put any, like that feels like it's going to be claustrophobic or it's going to be too hot. And nothing can be further. Like there's something about, and I know that there's intention here. So I know that there's something about the way that you're making it, the materials that you're using it, that is literally what you're talking about. You're tucking someone in, you're swaddling them, and yet it's a weightless weight. It does the trick of what weighted things do for sleep in the central nervous system that we'll talk about in a minute, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic in any way. So tell us a little bit about how this all began.
I've been working on this product my entire life, as it turns out. Well, I didn't know that I was, but I, as a little girl, I just came to the concept instinctively. It just always was so nurturing and comforting and relaxing. I had this down pillow that my grandmother had given me, and it was so thin. It was just like a little waif, a sliver of a pillow, and I would put it over my eyelids, my forehead, and kind of just tuck it around my head. And I always slept like that when I was a kid. And, I've been made fun of my whole life for it by my family. It was always like, are you breathing? Are you okay? Are you alive there? But it's just the way that I felt safe and nurtured and comfortable to go to sleep. And but I never really knew why I liked it so much. And my background as an adult is in yoga, and I started studying the principles of restorative yoga and how gently weighting the body triggers your body's relaxation response. So it slows down your heartbeat, your breath also begins to slow and expand, which shifts you over into your parasympathetic nervous response, which is our rest and restore part of our system. And then because it drapes over the eyelid, we have a lot of capillaries and nerve endings in our scalp and forehead and eyes. So just a little bit of weight, a little stimulation there is really relaxing. And then, of course, since it's over your eyes, it blocks out light. And it's also really drapey and flexible. So it kind of covers your ears as well and blocks out a really surprising amount of sound. It blocks about 9 decibels of sound. So it kind of takes care of the ambient disruptions and then also relaxes your body for sleeping. That was a long answer.
I love long answers. That's great. Well, definitely for the sound and the light, like I can vouch for that. Being in a conference, in an exhibition hall, and I think the last time at Paleo FX, it was actually the travel pillow that we used. And even though it's smaller than the full-size pillow, I was shocked at how much of the sound, it muffled it in a way that, and I'm a very light sleeper. So for me, sound is an absolute pull me out of sleep trigger. I was amazed at how much how much it muffled the sound around me. And that was in a crazy environment. So definitely in anything remotely normal of a sleep environment.
Yeah, it really kind of clips the low end sounds really well. I don't want to give the wrong impression. It is not like Bose noise canceling headphones. So if you sleep with a snorer, you're still going to hear it, but it does take off kind of the edge of a constant sound like that. And then, most people, especially my friends and customers that are sensitive to sound, I get so many emails that are like, what did you put in here? How did you do this? And it's just like each pillow, depending on the size, but like the classic, the larger size, uses 3.5 yards of fabric in each pillow. And then the fill as well is just like captures and softens. Like you said, it dampens the sound. So that for me too, that's a big part of the benefits that it offers, is just not, because our goal more than anything else is uninterrupted sleep,
Absolutely.
having to be pulled out of of your healthy sleep cycle. So any amount of light that creeps in, or a dog barking, or any kind of weather related noise, or other people in your house can pull you out of your sleep cycles. And our goal is always to just keep that healthy sequence going as much as possible. So
for sure. So now you told us how when you were a little girl,
yes,
you soothe yourself to sleep basically. And then you got into yoga, which is, I mean, that is your thing. That was your main gig until you into the sleep crown world. Yes. So what was the transition? What brought you to the, so now one thing in yoga at the end of class, we'll put those little eye pillows on. Did that somehow trigger something in you going, wow, maybe we should do something like that for sleep? Like what was the thing that made you leap to the producing the sleep crown?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I did have that aha moment in class. It was like, oh, it's dark in here. People have a little weighted eye pillow or even a towel sometimes draped over their eyes. And I could watch my students' bodies go from tight to just completely melting, down into a puddle on the ground. And it kind of just everything, all of my own life experience with sleeping, and then my studies and my practice of yoga all came together. And I was like, there's a reason why it's so comforting to me and why I sleep like this. And I just said, I don't know, it was one of those ideas that just animated itself and I couldn't not do it. It sounded completely insane.
Yeah. That's okay. Those are usually the best ideas.
The pillow that goes over your face, everybody's looking at me like, okay. And, but I don't sew. So I have one of my dear friends' moms knows how to sew. So I kind of described what I wanted it to look like. And we went over and just started trying fabrics and different materials, and just so I could make something to have as a prop to go into a production kind of design production kind of facility, and even describe what I was trying to go after. And then so we made the prototype. I went in and met with some designers, and actually I'm based in Austin, Texas, and there's an incredible facility there that works. It's a clothing design.
Oh my God, you're kidding. Yeah.
I went in and, they were like, well, let's try it. And so we just started working with different fabrics and different, all kinds of construction techniques and materials and fills, and until I found the right combination of things that felt right, and kept making little tweaks along the way because it needed to be something. It couldn't be too heavy. It can't be too stiff or rigid. It needed to have some, flexibility to it so it will wrap and drape. And so just trying to find the right ingredients and recipe to bring all of that together so that it already feels old and broken in.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and that is absolutely something that you notice. It's like when you put one of these over your face, it feels like it's always been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you would have put something relatively new over my face and it felt like it didn't have that new scratchy kind of feeling that new things often have. Not that we could ever do that at this moment right now. What's going on in the world with other people's pillows? You can do it with your own, but not with other people's. So tell us about the materials that you use, because I know that on your website, you mentioned that it's hypoallergenic, which is number one, really important, but you also mentioned that it's bird friendly.
Yes.
So why don't we talk a little bit about what that means and what the materials are that you are using?
Yes, I source everything here in the United States, which is
great.
Has served me quite well during this year because so many other companies have been, shut down and not able to get materials. But everything comes from the U.S. I really have sourced great partnerships, and the material is the biggest ingredient, the largest ingredient that I use. As I mentioned, the classic has 3 yards of fabric in it. So that's what gives it this kind of weight and heaviness to it, and the drapiness. And it's filled with a vegan down, which is why I say it's bird friendly. A lot of people are actually allergic to down feathers. And that was my original lovey, my original sleep crown that I slept with when I was little. It was down, which has a wonderful feeling to it and a drape to it. So I worked with a whole bunch of different fill companies, and I have this one made just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a dust-free facility. It's hypoallergenic, and it just, everything came together so well, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
Wow. Oh, that's just amazing. So one of the things, and I want to make sure the listeners realize that what's amazing about the sleep crown is that it can become such an integral piece of that whole sleep hygiene, that whole system, the rituals that we have to put in place for good sleep. Most of the people who watch this podcast, I think, are pretty aware at this point how important sleep is to longevity, to restore, for the body to restore and rejuvenate itself. Like, that's what happens at night. And anything we can do to protect that is, and to support those systems is really critical. So I think that this is yet another piece that, you were talking earlier about how sound, like the light, I'm a very light sleeper, so it takes very little sound to pull me out of sleep. And I think what people are starting to understand is when we're in that light sleep phase, which we all cycle in and out of as a natural matter of course, it's avoiding those awakening, that getting pulled out of that light sleep, because that's when we wake up and we realize, oh, I forgot to do this, and I think I need to do this, and tomorrow I need, or God forbid, you start worrying about something, and we all know that everything that we can worry about at night is way worse than it is during the day.
Yeah.
So trying to avoid those getting woken up and it's muffling and dampening the noise. Like you said, it's not cutting the noise to the point where you won't hear something that you need to hear. It's really just taking the edge off the noise. But the other thing is about the light, right? So many of us deal with ambient light in our environments, maybe because you're living in an urban environment or whatever the case may be. And I think there's a bunch of research now that talks about us having photoreceptors even on our skin. So even with your eyes closed, you would be affected by light. And so this, again, as a physical barrier to that light, would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, just as you mentioned, you're sensitive to sound. Some people are just extremely sensitive to light. So even if you have worked on your sleep space and you have blackout curtains and, have covered all the smoke alarm light dots, and trying to manage all of that, it's just one more layer. The thing that I like to focus on is getting the body comfortable, getting it set up for a proper night of sleep, getting it relaxed, getting that melatonin kicking, just like you said. So it's getting the body comfortable, but it's also handling the environment, controlling any kind of ambient disruption that could come your way. And so those are the main things that Sleep Crown focuses on. But you're right. Sleep troubles are such a massive umbrella kind of term, and there's so much. So obviously Sleep Crown doesn't solve everything, but it is about I also hear from a lot of customers that it's like having an adult lovey a little bit. It's this association. It's like, oh, my cozy little, it's a signal to your body that you're safe and it's time to settle down for sleep. So it's funny. There's kind of this little cult following going on. It's like,
if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, safety has always been the prime directive for sleep.
Yeah.
Right? We were not particularly physically powerful creatures. So being able to feel safe has everything to do with being able to allow yourself to slide into sleep and to stay there.
Yes.
So without remaining, somehow vigilant.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you're so right. I mean, it's a manual shift from your sympathetic nervous system to your parasympathetic, where you are actually able to settle for
Right.
sleep, not be on guard, like you say. So,
And on your website, you talk about weighted sleep therapy, which is such a great term. And I think, the whole weighted blanket issue is about that. Frankly, it's probably a big part of why swaddling babies helps them, right? So they don't feel kind of out in the world. And this idea of a little bit of weight on those pressure points in the head.
Very calming. Yeah. I mean, we all like to feel a little bit of pressure. It's why a massage feels so good. It's why, if you've been to the dentist and had an x-ray and they put that heavy, protective vest on you to protect your organs while you're getting an x-ray, and you just feel like you just want to sink back in the chair, or,
you're so right. I've never thought of that.
Yeah. And even as you mentioned, weighted blankets they've just become so popular in the last 10 years or so, but they've been around for about 40 years for people on the spectrum, is how they came to be, because it was so calming for people whose nervous systems were firing and dysregulated, to have that kind of instant boundary to just feel contained. I use my magic weighted blanket in Texas in the winter. It's a little bit much in the summer, but
I'll imagine in the heat that you guys get. It's interesting you say that, because as I think of it, no matter how hot it is, I need at least a sheet.
Yes.
I need something.
That little boundary.
Anything. Yeah.
I'm protected. I'm safe. It goes back to that feeling of carving out your space and feeling like being taken back to the womb. There are a lot of different products that are coming out with different types of weighted sleep therapies. There's some other things for the face. Our head and face tend to have a lot of receptors that make it prime real estate to have that kind of grounding effect.
For sure. No, that sounds amazing. Now, you've got other products on your website as well, which I think are really interesting, and I'd love people to know about them. So the pillow, the sleep crown is one big piece. Everything you do leading up to that time you're going to go to bed, of course, has a massive impact on your sleep. And, for me, I'm always educating my clients about turning off their electronics, shutting down the screens, developing, just like you did with your children when they were little, developing a sleep ritual, so that maybe taking a shower, of course, we would give our kids hot baths. As adults, we now know that a cold shower might actually be a bit better, or at least a little bit of cold in the shower might be better for sleep. So preparing your environment. But on your website, you have this lovely gift for people that you offer, which are these guided meditations that you offer, and breath work, so that people can move themselves out of that state of arousal, if you will, that you're in during the day, to transition into better sleep. Do you want to talk about those a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yes. Thank you for diving in deep to my website and knowing what's there. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like getting yourself prepared for sleep, just making that transition time. I love that you just said that we did it for our kids, when they were little. It's making it special, where it's something that you look forward to doing, especially if you've had situational insomnia, or it's something that you dread or you fight, looking at your sleep space and seeing how you can improve it, having cozy things around, working on the lighting, the sound, the smell. If you like aromatherapy, using candles and things like that. I'm really into sound therapy. As a yogi, I love sound baths.
Yeah.
I love using binaural beats that kind of trick the brain into shifting into your parasympathetic. Everything is about just trying to get to parasympathetic nervous system.
Out of fight and flight into rest and digest.
Exactly. And also as a yoga teacher, having that background in movement, there's, certain grounding shapes that you can do before bed. And then, I'm almost reluctant to call them guided meditations because it's really just more, the word meditation sometimes scares people. And so it's really just being led to calm. And I taught a class for years, a restorative yoga class that I just loved. It was all grounded poses. So using like a yoga blanket or a block, we'd set up into a twist on the floor, like a spinal twist, and just holding the shape for 3 to 4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Being talked through it and, just like gentle reminders, like here's a great place to breathe into the right lung and relax your hips and let your shoulders drop down and lengthen your neck and take a deep breath. So it's just being guided through your body or being told a little story that helps you settle and helps you get out of your active mind, that's stimulating you and dumping cortisol into your system. It's just like having a distraction, like listen to this over here and just follow along. And so it's a little trick, actually.
Well, it's actually brilliant because and especially for people who struggle with sleep, it becomes exactly that, a struggle. So, you can imagine someone going to bed and going, okay, now I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
And you've got this, okay, I'm going to work so hard to get to sleep. I'm going to fight my way in if I have to. And having this process, if you will, of, about that tension in your neck, why don't we just breathe through it and let it go? And those shoulders, and you can probably, I'm sure in your yoga class, you can see this. You can see that people's kind of like, oh, right. Like we have to remind people and guide them through this process of scanning, like a body scan, really, right? And to your point, taking their mind off the stuff and moving, it's like a switch and bait thing. Right?
Yes, exactly. But I love it. I love offering that type of practice, and I think it should just be accessible for everybody. And so it's on my website at sleepcrown.com. Under a tab called Guided Relaxation, and there's all different links of them if you like a quick hit of the 3 or 4 minute thing, and then there's some 20-minute long ones. So it's all free and it's just up there for you.
Yeah, no, I love it. I saw that you have a box breath in there. You've got so many alternate nostril breathing. And these are, what's amazing is I think people often dismiss this stuff, but there's actual science that shows that people's cortisol levels drop, that their blood pressure can come down. Like everything just kind of eases you into that state where you can get out of the alpha waves and into a better state for actually sleep. And then when you've got this beautiful kind of hug or love cloud over your face and head, it's really hard to describe, right? Because I know that I've mentioned it to a couple of people and they're like, oh, I don't know if I would want to. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you've got to experience it to understand it. I also, my husband has to read before bed, and he has to have this crazy light on his book. And I literally hide under my covers I'm like, you don't understand what that blue light is doing to our melatonin. Like, we can't make melatonin when there's blue light.
I know. The saddest thing is all my biohackers control everything about, their timing, their nutrition, their environment. And then it's like our partners in the house are our biggest enemy of our sleep. But I am not about sleep divorces. So
No.
That is another benefit of Sleep Crown, is just being able to block out the light or the sound of somebody working on their phone or they're clicking on their keyboard.
Oh yeah, that's non-negotiable in my house, but yes. There are lines that have been drawn, and that's one of them. No TV, no computer, none of that in the room, never mind around bedtime. And then the other thing on your website, you mentioned aromatherapy earlier. And of course, aromatherapy is this amazing thing. I actually recorded a podcast about a month or so ago with a woman by the name of Nadine Artemis from a company called Living Libations. you ever get it, you would love her. Oh my God, she's amazing.
Like she's right up my alley.
Oh yeah, no, you would. Anyway. So she talks about aromatherapy quite a lot, but I noticed that you have a pillow mist on your website as well. So I'm guessing lavender.
Yes, it is. It's a blend. It was actually my signature aromatherapy blend that I used while I was teaching yoga classes. It's lavender, predominantly lavender for sleep. Sandalwood. It has Roman chamomile and a little bit of lime, just a little hint of citrus. Nice. And it's so beautiful and relaxing. And it's another one of those little associations that can, just anything that you can signal your body, like now it's time to come down. I started my company, as you mentioned, I launched at the Bulletproof Biohacking Conference with the classic and the pillow mist. And then since then, I've really just listened to the feedback that I've gotten from my customers. And I've continued to just kind of launch little products here and there. And I just recently launched a new product, and I stepped back and looked at my website, and I was like, wow, I have a whole company here. I have a whole collection. It's just happened a little bit at a time and really just based on what people ask for. So I launched with the classic, and then I got a lot of feedback that people wanted a smaller one. And so I made what I called the Traveler. But actually a lot of people just prefer the lighter, the smaller, if you're more petite, it's kind of a nicer weight and size.
I like it better.
You do?
I think it's, for me anyway, again, I'm not a big person. For me, it just fits. It feels just right.
Yeah.
Right. And also, of course, when we travel, I mean, there's no control over your environment.
Yes. I mean, that was the key to why I made it, but it's so unfortunate now because we're not traveling at the moment. So it's like, I kind of need to rebrand the name, but like I said, a lot of people use that one just full time in their own bed at home. No trouble.
Yeah, I can totally see that. So you also have pajamas.
Yes. And then
is that the newest addition to the family?
Well, the pajamas came as a holiday kind of treat last year, and they were so popular that I just decided to keep making them. And then my latest baby, it's too big to even bring onto the screen.
Barney pillow. Yeah. I saw that. I was like, I didn't know she did those.
Yes, I just actually officially launched them last week, and I've been sold out. I kept trying to launch them and get them on the website, but people kept hearing about them and ordering them before I could even get them on the website. And so I finally put them on the website last week, and I'm sold out again. So,
oh, that's amazing.
Making more, but they are divine. I mean, I thought I was obsessed with my product before, and I am in love with this product.
Well, next time I come to Austin, I'm bringing an extra suitcase and I'm getting one from you.
I know. I can't even imagine how much shipping to Canada would be on this baby.
No, we're not going to go there.
It's like a 10-year-old person.
Stuff. I'll bet you it smushes into a suitcase really well.
Yes, it does compress. You can roll it up like a little sleeping bag bundle. But anyway, yeah, so that's the latest. And we actually pivoted to making face masks this spring too.
I saw that.
Because the fabric is so, it's a real heavy, thick fabric. And so we double bound the face masks. A lot of people asked us for them. And so we launched that as a fundraiser for No Kid Hungry. And that went really well too. So
love that. And so what is the fabric? Is it a synthetic fabric or is it bamboo?
It's bamboo jersey. So there's about 3%, like a lycra in there, but it's mostly bamboo.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing because it's nice and renewable as well. So, So you've got a lot of sustainability built into your systems as well, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And actually, when I first started, I had my shipping was in a poly mailer, and it just, it's creating waste. I didn't like the smell of it. I love the way it looked and it kept the product safe, but I just finally decided I couldn't deal with that anymore. So I ship all of my pillows in a nylon ripstop shipping pouch. And then that can be reusable. So if you travel, just, hold on to it. You can kind of roll your pillow up and stick it in there and pop it in your suitcase, which is great because not only is it more sustainable and reusable, but then if you go to a hotel or travel or visit somebody, it's a reminder when you open your suitcase back up, like, oh yeah, grab my sleep crown, because I get the saddest emails from people that are like, I took it with me and I left it and nobody can find it. So
oh God, I can't imagine the tragedy.
It's breaking.
You know what? We will get back to traveling. I mean,
I know
it's hard to imagine now, but the world will come back to a certain state of balance, and might just take a little bit of time. So, in the meantime, we just need to take care of ourselves and each other.
I know, and try to control all of our anxiety. That I feel like we now finally have the time to sleep and rest more than we ever have had access to before. But I feel like the collective kind of anxious thoughts are really, I think more people are having sleep troubles than ever before because of that. But you're right. We got to take care of each other and stay in touch and reach out and help one another every way.
I can't wait. I can see like in 10 years, there's going to be the Sleep Crown armchair.
I know. Oh, girl, I've heard like make a whole like mattress topper and a blanket and all the body pillow and the plastic and just call it the royal bed. Like,
yes, that's brilliant. I actually love the name Sleep Crown. Like you're wearing a crown for sleep. Like that's just
it covers the crown of your head. So
no, I love it. All right. Well, is there anything we've left out? Is there anything we should have talked about, you think, that you'd like to cover?
I think even if you've had issues with sleep in the past, you deserve to feel safe and to get the sleep that you need. Like you're worth it to pay attention to it. It is the ultimate original biohack. It solves so many physical problems, mental problems. I mean, it's an overall health hack. And it's vital for your well-being. So it's not something to take lightly or ignore. And we all have the capability to sleep well and to increase the overall amount of sleep that we get and to improve our sleep cycles. And you're worth it to look at what it is specifically that you need. Like, are you more sensitive to light? Are you more sensitive to sound? Is it something that you could go see like a biohacking dentist for to kind of work with opening up your air passages? Is it like a sleeping position issue? There's just so many things to look at. So there are lots of sleep coaches out there that you could contact if there's something specifically that you have questions about or that you could look to improve. But I am always available. I answer every email personally, every DM personally. I am just so lucky and fortunate to have the most exceptional customers, and I feel so connected to everybody, and I'm so grateful for what I get to do. So if there's anything I can do for you or any of your community, do not hesitate to reach out. You can click on anything on my website and it'll email me. And
thank you. Well, I think one thing I do want to say before we go is something that you touched on, and so much of what you talked about is not a supplement. There's so much about sleep. There's so much we can do to improve our sleep that is not a supplement. I mean, look, the right magnesium can help. There are definitely supplements that can help, but I think that we forget how important both the physical environment and our physical state, like our physical comfort, how important that is. And what I've seen in my clients quite often is people get so hung up and spun out about sleep that they very often forget the basics And to me, in a way, the Sleep Crown really addresses one of those very foundational and basic issues around sleep, which is what we talked about before. It's that feeling of security. It's the physiological, the pressure points, the muffling of the sound and light that sometimes might be that thing that you need even more than another supplement or whatever it is. So definitely, as far as biohacks go, I love biohacks like this that address that it's not a supplement. That, like, I think almost like the whole point of it is it isn't a supplement. It gets to more of a root cause, as it were, almost than any supplement can.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with it's about your physical space and your physical state. It kind of addresses those two parts. And it's going back to the basics, because you're worthy of your own attention and you're worthy of a great night's sleep. So, and this is an easy thing. Like, you don't have to schedule it. You don't have to take anything. You just put it in your bed and you flop it over your head. And if it works, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, so where can people find you, Miss Julie? Tell us.
You can find me at my website is sleepcrown.com. My Instagram is sleepcrown, and I am on Facebook, sleepcrown at sleepcrown. So
love it. Consistent.
Yeah, yes.
And you've generously extended a special gift, I guess, to people who watch this. If you use promo code longevity10, that will get you $10 off your purchase of, I think it's anything. Is it anything on your website or just the Sleep Crown?
It's either any pillow. So
any pillow. Perfect.
It's the Sleep Crown, the Traveler, the Sleep Crown Set of Two. It just doesn't apply to the body pillow or the pajamas.
Okay, perfect. I'm actually not much of a pajama person myself, so that's it's just my thing. So
the nude is a total biohack.
it actually is, right? Because it allows your body to regulate its own body temperature. Anyway, that's a whole other rabbit hole. We're not going to go down that one. So longevity10, sleepcrown.com. This is Julie Westervelt. I'm Natalie Nidham. If you want to reach me, you can find me on Facebook at Biohacking Superhuman Performance. And then there's a whole subtitle to that, Peptides, Nutrition, Genetics, I think. But if you go Biohacking Superhuman Performance, you'll find me. You will also find this podcast. Well, if you're watching it, you've already found the podcast, so I don't need to tell you about that. And I think it's a wrap. So thank you again so much, Julie. It was such a pleasure to reconnect with you again. I'm so excited we did.
Oh my gosh, me too. You're such a beauty. Thank you so much, Natalie, for having me on.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you so much for being here and listening to the Biohacking Superhuman Performance Show. My name is Natalie Nidham. You can find me on Facebook in the Biohacking Superhuman Performance group pretty much every day. Or you can find me at natnidham.com, which is my website, where you can read some testimonials from people who've worked with me. And if you're interested in a consultation or a free call, or maybe even just finding out more about biohacking, there are links to other podcasts there. There's my blog. There's a contact form to reach out to me. So thanks again for being here. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the show. And make sure to share it with your friends if you know people who might enjoy the show as well. See you next time.